Hey everyone, Lily Ray here. I wanted to check back in with a lot of different people who have reached out to me because in the last few weeks I've had over 200 different publishers reach out regarding pretty severe traffic losses, particularly in Google Discover, but also in Google Top Stories and Google News and the News tab as well. So I wanted to just follow up because a lot of people have been reaching out and asking if I've heard anything or if I have any tips or anything like this. So first and foremost, I don't have a magic solution. I wish I did. Google is clearly aware of the potential problem. I don't even know if it is a problem, but the change, that they've been made aware and it's in their hands at this point. I don't know what's going to happen. I think there's still a lot of things that publishers can do to try to encourage, better performance in Google Discover. But as with all things in Discover, and this has always been true, there's no guarantees. You can lose traffic at any time. We do Discover consulting at our agency at AMSIV, and we always start by telling clients there's just no guarantees. There's always volatility. Google's always testing things. So it's important to understand that. I know that's not very, helpful for people who have completely lost traffic in Google Discover after receiving thousands or millions of clicks monthly or even daily for the past several years. So that being said, I do want to talk a little bit about what some of my theories are as to why this is happening. There's a lot of different theories out there. A lot of people are trying to draw conclusions or make assumptions about what's happening or what's not happening. And I understand that it's human nature to want to assign meaning to things and especially when something devastating happens, like losing a lot of traffic. And I know a lot of this is having a severe impact on a lot of businesses around the world. So I don't take it lightly. But I think a lot of these theories, like with many things in SEO, having a very small sample size or just having like one anecdote about what happened or didn't happen aren't always accurate, and it's very hard to say what happened or not. So I just want to talk about some things that I'm seeing on my end because we do have access to a lot of different publisher accounts through Search Console, and obviously I'm pretty obsessed with this topic and try to pay attention to what's happening day to day. So first and foremost, there have clearly been a lot of changes to how Google presents content in Google Discover in the past couple of weeks and months. Firstly, there was the October core update followed by the November core update, and Google actually confirmed that in the October core update, there was a bit of a glitch in Discover that caused sites to lose traffic. I think a lot of sites were expecting to see the traffic come back later in October when they announced that. Some did, some didn't. I've also seen some other sites that in about November 17th, or in some cases like November 25th, seeing a lot of movement coming back as well, but I know that's not true across the board. A lot of sites continue to see pretty big declines. So Google's testing new features. Core updates can absolutely impact visibility, but I want to talk today about some of the different kind of like features and new products that I'm seeing pretty consistently in my own Discover feed. And just to be totally clear, Discover is different for everyone. That's the nature of the beast. We all have completely different Discover feeds. That's the entire point. But beyond that, I think that Google puts us in different test groups as far as Discover goes, just like search, to see how users interact with different features. I happen to be in a test group where the last couple of weeks, I just like feel like Discover got way worse for me. But I know that some friends and some people that I speak to and some coworkers and things like this, particularly those that have Android devices and Google Pixel phones and things like this, they have a better experience and they're seeing some really interesting tests that Google's conducting in Discover. So one thing that I'm seeing a lot of that I've posted a lot about in the last couple of weeks is web stories, and particularly really spammy web stories. So this isn't entirely new. Google has had web stories in Google Discover for a long time. The difference is that I'm seeing a very high rate of very, very spammy web stories. And they're usually hosted on some type of expired domain, or they pass through a redirect on an expired domain, and then they go to some other site that has a lot of ads running and a lot of just kind of like really spammy, probably AI generated content. Surprisingly, these web stories are on topics that you wouldn't expect Google to serve up so casually, like weight loss. And I just saw one about bed bugs today. So like these web stories are just churning out a lot of spam. In some cases, I've seen examples where you click on the web story and it redirects the user like 3 different times, and then you end up on basically like a malware page on your phone. So that's not great. And Google's aware of this. I don't know what they're doing, but I know that they specifically have, examples of this and they are aware. So we'll see what happens soon. If you're a spammer, maybe the time for this type of exercise and benefiting from this basically glitch or loophole on Google, it might be short-lived. Next is something that Google announced recently, which is the follow feature in Google Discover. So I'm actually not seeing this on my own phone. I use an iPhone. That might be the issue, but I know that some others like Glenn Gabe who use Android devices are seeing Google's new displaying of basically not only brands that you can follow and discover, which has been true for a while now, but now you can follow individual topics or like entities. So let's say you go to Google search and you type Beyonce or hiking or cycling or something like this, and Google says, do you want to follow this as a topic? You can then press the follow button, go to your Discover feed, and you can start to see articles that are basically tagged with by being part of that topic. So this is interesting because definitely if you're a publisher that publishes content on those topics, you want to appear when somebody's following that topic. I think we'll start to figure out if that's something you can influence or not. But that'll certainly be interesting for those of us that are very focused on getting more Discover traffic. And that could be a reason why we're starting to see a lot of volatility. I think earlier today, Glenn Gabe posted some examples where because he's following certain topics, he's now starting to see older articles appearing in his Discover feed. Whereas generally speaking in Discover, you usually see new kind of timely articles, but maybe because now Google's saying, oh, you're following this topic, now older articles that fall into that category might be more eligible for Discover traffic as well. Also, deals is a pretty new development. Google's been doing a lot of things with deals in the Merchant Center, and that this is showing up in organic search. Now it's showing up in Discover as well. So you can actually specifically on Google type shop deals, and that'll take you to a new Google like set of search results for sites that have discounts coming from Google Merchant Center. And you can see these nice like deals on DJ equipment or deals on running shoes or whatever. And you can also see a lot of those deals now appearing in Google Discover that take you directly to Google Merchant Center, which is a nice segue into another thing that I'm seeing a lot more of, a lot more of, which is that Google Discover is displaying products directly within Discover. So whether it's something that you searched, that's a product that you searched for, where Google's saying, hey, we know that you were looking at DJ headphones, so we want to basically take you back to Google Merchant Center where you can look at more DJ headphones. So you'll either see like a search that you've conducted and some examples of products that will take you directly to Merchant Center. Or another thing that I'm seeing a lot of recently is that if you if Google shows a certain article, let's say an article about best Black Friday deals for headphones, it'll show that article, and then beneath it, it'll take you to maybe 2 or 3 products listed in Google's Merchant Center. And those products are not always mentioned in the article. I think that they're just like associated to the article. So basically, if I have a history of searching for DJ headphones, Google might do a combination of showing me an article about DJ headphones and then showing 2 links to the Merchant Center to products that I could actually purchase as well. I'm seeing a lot more of that in my feed. This is nothing new, but I'm seeing a lot of YouTube. I feel like I'm seeing more YouTube than normal. Not surprising, it's a Google product, and they love pushing YouTube, both long format videos as well as short videos. So when it comes to YouTube, I'm seeing, number one, a lot of SEO content, a lot of kind of spammy SEO content showing up in my feed, not surprising. But I'm also seeing like, Google will serve me music, Google will serve me, DJ information or different things. Today, I actually saw Google just showing its own Google YouTube channel in my Discover feed. So they're pushing YouTube a lot. That's not new, but it does feel a little bit like there might be more of that happening. And this is important to highlight because whenever there's more of something in Discover, there's less of something else, right? So there's a finite amount of market share for everybody to share in Google Discover. And this is something that I think pretty confident that about a month ago when we started to have this Israel-Palestine-Hamas conflict, there definitely seemed to be some categories that had less visibility in Discover while that was happening, and there was obviously more visibility for topics related to the conflict, and seemingly more authoritative, news publications and things like this appearing in Discover, as you would expect, because a lot of people are very interested in these topics, and Google wants to make sure that they're getting the information right. It's just a theory that I had. A couple other people independently seem to have arrived at that same conclusion with the data that they had access to. So it's just something to keep in mind. World events can influence what we see in Google Discover as well. Next is syndicated content. So I talk about syndicated content a lot. This is not a new topic. This has been happening for a long time. If you syndicate content through a site like MSN or Yahoo, you might see, you'll often see that MSN or Yahoo gets the Discover traffic. They get to appear in Google Discover. And this is almost, in some cases, regardless of whether you have a canonical from Yahoo or MSN or one of the syndicating sites pointing back to your website. Google's been very clear about this. They recommend that publishers talk to the partners and recommend no indexing syndicated content so that the original publisher, there's no confusion for Google. They'll just basically rank that content. But this is very tricky for publishers because we all know that's not always true. If Yahoo is able to rank in Google Discover, you're not necessarily going to get that same level of visibility if you were to no index the Yahoo version, but then just only publish the original version on your site. I think I'm seeing a lot more Yahoo in particular appearing in the last couple of weeks. Yahoo's always been a very, very big player in Google Discover, largely with syndicated content, but I do feel like I'm seeing more of that in the past couple of weeks, both in Discover as well as organic search. And that's pretty much it. Basically, it's just important to think about these new features and new tests that Google's doing. Again, they're eating up market share. And I think that they're testing not only new features and new ways to interact with Google Discover, and obviously ways to keep people in the Google ecosystem, send people back to organic search, send people back to the merchant center, send people to YouTube. Like that's obviously happening. But I do think there's probably also some other things happening with regard to Google's quality evaluations of who is eligible to appear in Google Discover. I think a lot of publishers have gotten away with a lot of things for many years in there that they might be starting to crack down on. I know some people have reached out to me with manual actions and transparency issues and misleading content and things like this that are actual manual actions you can receive. But unfortunately, we don't always get a manual action when our site is essentially being treated as if it has one. If you can be removed algorithmically from Discover, that you're not always going to get a message about why that happened. And that could go back to larger site quality issues, which is what we always talk about with core updates and things like this. So, and the last point I'll make is the helpful content update absolutely impacted Discover visibility for many sites. So if you were impacted by the helpful content update, it's quite likely that you lost visibility in Discover as well. So hopefully that was helpful. I know it's not a magic bullet. I know that there's not one single answer to why traffic has gone down, but I am seeing some sites show some signs of life in the past couple of weeks, not necessarily doing anything different, just getting picked back up in Discover. So keep at it, keep publishing good content, keep following the best practices, use good headlines, use good images, make sure you're doing all the, recommendations with the Google follow feature and feeds and things like this. And good luck. I hope that Google addresses some of the issues we're seeing in there, and I hope people get their traffic back soon. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care. Bye.